Hey, this is Notser, and today we're taking a look at Nikolai Kuznetsov, a brand new Soviet commander that was made available in 8.4. You can find him in the armory for 500 provision tokens. It is under the Victory Competition Part 2, and this is the first time that Wargaming has ever used this method of obtaining a legendary commander. I'm going to talk about the passive traits that are unique to the commander, and just my general feelings when playing. The game in the background is myself in the Tier 10 Soviet battleship Kremlin. We are making use of the commander, and I will highlight when his passives go off. And speaking of those passives going off, let's talk about them. So Kuznetsov comes equipped with 3 passives. He gets improved Jack of all trades, concealed reserves, and will to victory. Now, the improved Jack of all trades makes the skill, that level 2 skill, that is normally 5% improved consumable cooldown, it becomes 10% with Kuznetsov. And this is a really nice feature. You can get your limited use damage control up faster. You can also benefit from your heal at a quicker rate. But unfortunately, that is the only sort of normal passive that Kuznetsov has. He does not have improved expert marksman, so you are not benefiting from equipping this commander on a sluggish turret traverse. Ships like the Kremlin and the Soyuz, they don't need it, but mid-tier Soviet battleships definitely miss out on it. And the limited nature of the passive option really boxes you into who you want to assign this guy to. You basically should assign it to a Soviet ship that will sustain consistent damage, and you would benefit from that. And most ships that do that are battleships and heavy cruisers. And, the Moskva's possibly a great option too. It's just that the mid-tier Soviets really suffer from slow turret traverse, and there's nothing here past the regular benefit that expert marksman gives that you would see. It also comes equipped with concealed reserves. Now, concealed reserves would sound familiar to a Yamamoto commander because it's equipped to the Yamamoto. The First Blood achievement will provide an additional charge of consumables. This is huge for Soviet battleships. They suffer greatly compared to all the other lines. They have limited use damage control charges, and on top of that, some of their ships, they start out with less than the normal allotment of repair party. Repair party is how battleships recover. The Slava has a terrible amount, and the Kremlin is 1 down from your typical 5 if you were to make use of superintendent and all this stuff. So it's really nice if you were to be a player who, with Kuznetsov, could get a First Blood. It is a huge benefit to the Soviet fleet and Soviet battleships, in my opinion. Will to Victory. Will to Victory is a brand new passive we've never seen. When your ship's hit points falls below 10%, the effects of Repair Party and Damage Control Party are activated, while the dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship temporarily increases. So it basically gives you sort of a last stand effect, where under 10% for the next 20 to 30 seconds, however long it takes for your basic damage control or for your heal to go off, they will stay on the ship, and it will encourage more tankiness that is so desperate when you're that low. Now, obviously, this is not attached to an achievement, so it's theoretically the first legendary commander passive that doesn't take any skill to activate. Now you might argue, well, it doesn't take any skill to get First Blood either, but it's a thought process, right? You might be looking to be a little bit more aggressive in positioning so that you have a chance at First Blood. Or with the Double Strike passive, obviously, if I was in Halsey, I would be looking for a Double Strike opportunity so I could benefit from that. Or Confederate for Yamamoto. But for Kuznetsov, Will to Victory activates, once every game, if in every game you drop to 10%. There is a possibility that you get blapped out of existence. So let's say your hit points is 15 or 20%, you take a big torpedo broadside or a big citadel broadside, you're gone. There is no recovery. It's not going to protect you and keep your health from dropping below 10%. to my understanding. I haven't experienced that. So there are games where your decision making or the situation prevents it from activating. So exactly what happens when your hit points reach 10%, the ship will heal. You will see the heal effect animation, and during the normal damage control party duration, it will be active from the moment you reach 10%, and it will sort of be there, but there won't be anything verifying it. I'll show you the UI, but you have an active damage control party that will remove all fires and floods, and then prevent all fires and floods while still active on your ship. Your repair party restores up to 7.5% of the ship's hit points while the talent is activated. The dispersion of the enemy shells that are fired at your ship is increased by 20%. This is like having 2 or 3 concealment modules equipped to the ship. That plus the camouflage. So it's really beneficial to throw off the accuracy of the enemy. It's one of those things where, theoretically, it is a low skill activation with a high skill return, because it should allow you to be more aggressive when facing an enemy. His shells will just be less consistent. Now, if you are presented with this activation, it is in your best interest to avoid the immediate 10 to 20 seconds after it has activated to fire your guns. Not that it's easy to read, because you'll see exactly what the passive looks like. We haven't gotten quite to it yet, but our health has dropped significantly low enough that we are starting to get into the realm of experiencing it. Now, as I said, 500 provision tokens. Provision tokens come from choosing between glory and honor and playing throughout the days, weeks that the victory campaign's going on. You earn 500 of them. This is the reward for it. You cannot earn this commander through the campaign. The campaign is highlighting Soviet battleships. It gives you access to the second flag for the battleships. It also gives you alternative camo scheme for those battleships, also cruisers and destroyers. But there's nothing you can do to unlock this commander other than to earn 500 provision tokens and spend it in the armory. At least that's my understanding. Now, from my point of view, this is a great change, because it unlocks the ability for the player to log in each day and contribute and earn the currency that they can then purchase the commander. But it also allows the player to invest a little bit of money in those same containers that are available for each part of the event. This is the second part. It comes with its own unique container. I think it's in the service of the motherland or something along those lines. It is a red and white container, and it earns about 75 provisional tokens. So you can earn it by playing, but also earn it through earning the containers or spending money on them. Which, I get it. They're a business. The option is there. I didn't feel like the earning rate was unfair. I didn't think that they had pushed it into months and months of playing. I had 10 or 15 supplemental containers, and then I played probably a week to 2 weeks worth of games to get the rest of the provisional tokens necessary to unlock the commander. For someone who doesn't have access to the containers outside of the 2 or 3 that are from a reward scheme, it's probably going to take you 5 weeks to earn the necessary tokens so that you can then unlock the commander. And that's good. You can choose to supplement that, or you can just spend more time playing the game. I love the way that Wargaming has evolved the armory into a tool that is just allowing the player to play the game the way they want to play. And I think the commander itself, it's a really great commander. I think this Will to Victory passive is going to be really attractive for a lot of Soviet battleships, cruisers, and you could even see this commander stuck in a destroyer for fun. But in a destroyer, you have to be careful. That 10% is very easy to burst through. So that's why I would hesitate to recommend this commander stuck in anything other than a battleship and maybe like a super late tier Soviet cruiser. They have the most health so that they can sit at 10% or 11% or 15% and not be completely wiped out in order to have the passive activated. But you play it correctly, you assign it to the ships that benefit the most. To me, the ships that benefit the most from a commander like this: Kremlin, Moskva, Stalingrad, the Slava whenever it comes out, the Soyuz, all of the higher tier Soviet battleships that have fast turret traverse. Although you don't have to choose to take Jack of all trades. That's an option to you to take a benefit. You could easily just overlook it. That's not a big deal. What are you getting? Like 5 seconds faster recharge rate on your heal and your limited damage control charge, which you obviously don't want to use on cooldown. It's not really a choice that is necessary to make full use of all those passives. It's just up to the user. Now, one thing that Wargaming clarified: the Will to Victory passive does not use any of your damage control or heal charges. And we're getting very close to it activating, so I want to pay close attention. Look at just above my rudder shift. This is where you're going to get it. The Will to Victory talent just activated. We sent up a little flare, and that's it. I get a heal. I am under the effect of the damage control. Not that you would ever know that, of course. You just have to assume it's still there. And also, I'm under that dispersion improvement, where the enemy has 20% less dispersion, or worse dispersion, when firing on my position. This is the part of Nikolai Kuznetsov that is a little too gray area in my opinion. There definitely needs to be more obvious announcement, maybe an area where you can have a buff show up and with a timer ticking down, and it's just Will to Victory. If you hover over that buff icon that might be displayed somewhere on the screen, it would tell you that you're under the effect of damage control party, the repair party, and then as well the dispersion shell, just so you can see a visual timer of it counting down, because you wouldn't know that I was under the effect of damage control or that improved dispersion benefit for my ship unless you just knew that. It's not something that, it's obvious that it's still up in the game. It's supposed to be active for 30 seconds, but I don't know exactly when it happens because the game event is so small. Normally, with these passives on these legendary commanders, they're attached to an achievement unlock. So there has to be a replacement for the achievement unlock that we're so used to in order to inform the players better and they can better perform with the commander. That's my one criticism with the implementation as of right now. But Concealed Reserve works just fine. The Red Tracer looks great. I enjoy the red and yellow Soviet commander flag that's flying over the ship, both of which you can choose to have active or disabled, which is always a great option. Some people don't enjoy the Red Tracer or the flag, or they want to have their commander sort of fly under the radar so there's no tell whatsoever to the enemy that they happen to have this benefit. But to me, personally, the passive has to have a little bit more of an obvious read, both in the player controlling the commander and the ship, but also what other people see, because they don't know that they're now under this effect, and that little flare was just so small and minimal. It's kind of ironic, all things considered, that Kuznetsov has such a subtle activation that the flare is lacking any flair for the dramatic to inform both the player and the attacker what's going on. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can click the most recent and the most relevant uploads. You can also choose to subscribe to my channel, where we do daily World of Warship videos, first impression, how-to, news-related, and reviews. I stream at twitch.tv/Notser. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.